Hi everyone, it is alenajingle and I'm going to apologize in advance because this video is probably going to be pretty long because there are a lot of names that I want to bring up to you guys. But the name of this video is alternatives to the new boy names from the US's Top 100 2015 boy list. So I'm going to briefly mention, without going into detail, the 5 names that left the top 100, but I will link in the description section below other people who have addressed those names. So the 5 names that left the top 100 were Brody, went from 92 to 105, Justin went from 96 to 110, Juan went from 98 to 114, Luis went from 99 to 106, and when I did my less popular alternative series, Camden was listed as the number 100 boy name for 2014. When they updated the list this year, they actually said that Tristan was the number 100 boy name. Either way, one of those 2 names went from 100 to 101, and neither of them are in the top 100 boy names this year. So there are 5 new boy names to the top 100 names this year, and I'm going to be talking about them in order from most popular to least popular. At number 85 in 2015 was the name Mateo with this spelling. This is the Spanish form of Matthew. That means gift of God. This jumped up 21 spots. It was 106 in 2014. Mateo Aria is the name of a young actor from the Disney show Kickin' It. There's an American R&B singer named Just Mateo. Actor Benjamin Bratt has a son named Mateo, and the lead character in the TV show Jane the Virgin has a son named Mateo with this spelling. This entered the top 1,000 boy names for the first time in 1995, and Mateo with 2 T's was at 191 in 2015, and I actually had Mateo with 2 T's as a Matthew alternative in my series. However, it did raise 180 spots in 2015. Something that's interesting about Mateo entering the top 100 boy names is that Luis and Juan, which are 2 classic Spanish boy names, left the top 100, so clearly it is being replaced by some newer Spanish boy names. My first Mateo alternative I have is just Teo. This is an Italian and Spanish name that means godly, and it can also be a nickname for Mateo. There's a young actor named Teo Holm who is from the movie Earth to Echo. I really like that movie. And there is a character from Avatar: The Last Airbender named Teo. And this has never been in the top 1,000 boy names before. And of course, I think someone who likes Mateo might like Teo because Teo is part of the name Mateo. My next Mateo alternative I have is Timoteo. This is the Spanish and Portuguese form of Timothy, which means honor of God. This is a place name in Brazil, but it's extremely rarely used in the US otherwise. And of course, I think someone who likes Mateo might like Timoteo because they have a similar sound. And my last Mateo alternative I have is Macheo or Maceo. This is a Spanish or an Italian diminutive of Matthew, which again means gift of God. There's an American jazz musician named Macheo or Maceo Parker, a child actor named Maceo or Macheo Smedley, and Halle Berry had a son and named him Maceo or Macheo. I'm not sure how she pronounces his name. I think his name is very handsome and definitely needs to be used more in the US. And of course, I think someone who likes Mateo might like Maceo or Macheo for that super similar sound. At number 92 in the year 2015 was the name Ezra. This is a Hebrew name that means help, and it went from 118 up to 92 in 2015, so a pretty good rise for that as well. Ezra is the name of an Old Testament prophet, but I definitely think this name is rising so quickly in popularity because of the Pretty Little Liars character played by actor Ian Harding named Ezra. There is a rising actor named Ezra Miller. There's of course author Ezra Jack Keats. There is a singer named Ezra Koenig from the band Vampire Weekend, and the wonderful singer George Ezra. There is a character in George Eliot's Daniel Deronda named Ezra as well. Taylor Hanson actually has a son named Ezra. He has several children with really, really great names. This has always been in the top 1,000 boy names, and it's its first time being in the top 100, and I love that it's in the top 100. I think it's an absolutely wonderful name. My first Ezra alternative I have is Esra. This is an Arabic and Turkish form of Ezra, meaning help again, and in Turkey it is used for boys and girls. I first saw this name on one of the singers from the band 77 Bombay Street. I absolutely adore that band so much, but it is extremely rare otherwise, especially in the US. And of course, I think someone who likes Ezra might like Esra because of that similar sound. They're only one letter apart, and of course they have the same meaning. My next Ezra alternative I have is Ezekiel. This is a Hebrew name that means strength of God, really great meaning. This is the name of one of the priests under King David in the Bible, and also the name of a major prophet and the author of the book Ezekiel in the Bible. There is a footballer named Ezekiel Elliott. Actor Beau Bridges has a son named Ezekiel, and there are characters named Ezekiel in many different things, including Arthur Miller's The Crucible, show Parenthood, the Divergent book series, and the popular kids show Wizards of Waverly Place. This was in the top 1,000 boy names all years except from 1954 through 1973, and is now ranked at 148, which I absolutely love because I think it's a great name to be used in 2015. And I think someone who likes Ezra might like Ezekiel because they're both Old Testament books of the Bible and they both start with E-Z. And my last Ezra alternative I have is Ezri. This is an English and Israeli form of the name Ezra, which means help. I actually have a Facebook friend that has a daughter named Ezri, but there was a female Star Trek character with that name, so that might be where she got it from. And Ezra Tarazi is the name of an Israeli industrial designer. And I think someone who likes Ezra might like Ezri because they're only one letter apart and they have the same meaning and are both Old Testament biblical names. At number 94 in the year 2015 was the name Sawyer. This is an English name that means someone who uses a saw or a woodcutter, and it was 110 in 2014, so it went up 16 spots last year. I have actually met lots of little Sawyers, and it's a name that I see on lots of people's lists, so I'm actually surprised it's not more popular. I associate this with the newscaster Diane Sawyer, Tom Sawyer from Mark Twain's books. There is a country band called Sawyer Brown, and I think a big boost of this name was the character Sawyer from the show Lost. Actress Kate Capshaw and director Steven Spielberg both have children named Sawyer as well. It first entered the top 1,000 boy names in 1991, and this is its first time being in the top 100 boy names. I just think of someone with a saw with this, so it seems kind of violent to me, so I hope that someone who isn't sure about Sawyer might consider one of these options instead. These are all going to be very unique names, and I would love to see anybody with any of these names. And my first Sawyer alternative I have is lawyer. This is of course an English name that means a practicer of law. There are two football players that are named Lawyer, Lawyer Malloy and Lawyer Tillman, and I would have never thought of this as a name. However, a few years ago I did a video on interesting names from the 1880 top 1,000 boy list, and lawyer was at 999 in the year 1880s. But it is a name that has been used in the US before, and I think someone who likes Sawyer might like lawyer because they have a very similar sound. They're both occupational names, and lawyer has a much better association as far as the meaning goes. My next Sawyer alternative I have is Boyer or Boyer. With the Boyer pronunciation, it is an English name that means bow maker. There is a professional bodybuilder named Boyer Coe, and Thomas Boyer Bryan is the name of singer Luke Bryan's son. I think someone who likes Sawyer might like Boyer for that very similar sound, and once again they're both occupational and surname names. And my last Sawyer alternative I have is Sayer. This is a Welsh name that means carpenter, and it is an Old English name that means songwriter. But otherwise, this is an extremely rare name, and I think it would work so well in 2016 because there are so many boy names in the top 100 boy names that end in ER. And I think someone who likes Sawyer might like Sayer because they're only one letter apart, and again, they're both occupational and surname names. At number 99 is the name Theodore. This is an English name that comes from the Greek name that means gift of God, wonderful meaning, and this was ranked at 126 in 2014, so it went up 27 spots. This is definitely strongly associated with President Teddy Roosevelt. This is the name of one of the chipmunks from Alvin and the Chipmunks. There's an actor named Theodore who played Zoltan Karpathy in My Fair Lady, and Theodore Lawrence is Teddy's name or Laurie's name from Little Women. I love that association. Actress Bryce Dallas Howard and actress Ali Larder and actress Rachel Lee Cook all have sons named Theodore, and author John Grisham has a series about a young child detective named Theodore Boone. This is a name I do see again on lots of namers' name lists, and I think it's very handsome, and I think it totally deserves a spot in the top 100 boy names. This has always been within the top 400 boy names in the US and left the top 100 boy names in 1945, and of course just re-entered now. My first Theodore alternative I have is Theophilus. This is an English form of a Greek name that means God's friend or God's love. Absolutely wonderful meaning. The books Luke and Acts in the New Testament in the Bible are addressed to Theophilus, and supposedly they're not sure if there was a man named Theophilus, or because it means God's friend, they wonder if maybe Theophilus was just a term used to address any person who was reading those letters that was someone who loved God or a friend of God. There was a playwright named Theophilus Gibber. Theophilus North is a novel written by Thornton Wilder, and there is a rapper named Theophilus London. I think someone who likes Theodore might like Theophilus because they have a similar look. They can both have Theo as a nickname, and I think that this would work really well to honor someone who has a Philip in their family as well, since this has Phil in the middle. And right now we have Theophilus in our top boy names as a middle name, Jasper Theophilus. My next Theodore alternative I have is Theodosius. This is a Greek name that means given to God. There were 3 Roman emperors with this name, and sometimes they would spell it with the US ending instead of OS, and there were just loads of people in Roman history with the name Theodosius, but it is so rarely used today, and I think it's totally accessible, and I would love to see somebody with this name. And I think someone who likes Theodore might like Theodosius for that super similar sound, and because they have a similar meaning as well. And my last Theodore alternative I have is Salvador. This is a Latin and Spanish name that means savior, really great meaning. There's of course a country called El Salvador, so it is a place name, and this is definitely associated with the painter Salvador Dali as well. This has always been within the top 1,000 boy names in the US and is now ranked at 630. And I think that's someone who likes Theodore or likes Salvador because they have the same similar pattern and they both end in that door sound. And at number 100 in the year 2015 in the US was the name Elias. It is a Latin form of Elijah, which means my God is Jehovah. But this is where things get a little bit messy because I actually had Elias as an Elijah alternative when I did my 2014 boy names series. This was ranked at 103 last year, so it's just barely outside the top 100 boy names, and I'm not going to talk too much about Elias because I already mentioned so much about it in my video where I talked about Elijah alternatives, so I will go ahead and link that video below and you can go to that. I had Elisha, Elia, and Elias as alternatives for Elijah, so I will go ahead and mention a name to replace Elias as an alternative for Elijah, and that is Eliah. It is an English form of a Hebrew name that means God is Lord. In the Bible, this is the name of one of the 7 sons of Jesse, and of course the youngest son of Jesse ended up being King David. This is similar to a lot of popular boy names right now, and I think it would be really cool to see a little boy born in 2016. And I think someone who likes Elijah might like Eliah because of the similar sound. They have the same meaning, and they're both biblical names that can have Eli as a nickname. And now on to my Elias alternatives. My first one I have is Elihu. This is an English form of a Hebrew name that means the Lord, He is my God. This is the name of the man in the book of Job who was giving Job advice, and Yale College is actually named after Elihu Yale, who is one of the benefactors of that college. I think that's a really cool association. And I think this name is super adorable, especially because I think that Hugh could be a nickname for it as well. And of course I have a son named Hugh, so I love that. And of course I think someone who likes Elias might like Elihu because they're both 3-syllable biblical names that can have Eli as a nickname. My next Elias alternative I have is Eliphalet. This is a Hebrew name that means God is Elias. The founder of the Remington Arms Company was named Eliphalet Remington, and I had never really noticed this name before until I was rereading the Anne of Green Gables series. There is a character or two named Eliphalet mentioned in some of the books, and he went by Life as a nickname, which I thought that was really cool. In the Bible, Eliphalet is the name of one of the sons of David, and I think someone who likes Elias might like Eliphalet because they're both Old Testament biblical names that start with Eli. And my last Elias alternative I have is Amias. This is a Latin name that means loved, perfect meaning. There are characters named Amias in one of Agatha Christie's novels and in The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser, but it's extremely rare otherwise, and I think it's extremely handsome and accessible. And of course I think someone who likes Elias might like Amias for that similar sound. That is it for this video. Please let me know what you think of these names and what your favorites were, and if you have any other alternatives for names that you love, please tell me in the comments below. And thank you again for watching. Bye!